Welcome to another tutorial, and Happy New Year. I am Chrognar, and today we're going to discuss how to use TOML files to pre-process your game properties for default values, or how to save and load TOML files for save files, because TOML actually translates to dictionaries pretty well, and so you can use the TOML file, um, have UPBGE create a TOML file, and then you'll have a template that you can use to basically create other TOML files, so you can just start typing out enemy stats instead of having to program everything, or player stats, or player abilities, or damage values, right? So we're going to learn about TOML and how to use it with UPBGE. But first, one thing you may know is if we go to my text editor and let's save a quick Python file called tester. Alright. You'll notice that if I'll go ahead and import BGE, right? That comes up fine in my autocomplete, but if I go ahead and try to import TOML, right now it's there. But normally when you're using the TOML class, you're going to get TOMLE, TOMLKit, TOMLlib. So TOMLE, TOMLKit, and TOMLlib, they only read TOML files, they don't write. So you need this TOML, the TOML class installed in Python in order to use it. And it actually has to be installed into Blender's Python. So I'm going to show you how to do that first. So first we're going to go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and save that crap. Close it. And say hello to this chick from Girls Frontline. It's a terrible gacha game, but the story's actually not too bad. But I stopped playing because it's dumb, and I don't spend money, so it's just a waste of time. Next, we're going to go ahead. We'll go ahead and save this and quit. So right, quit, and then we need to go into our UPBGE folder. We need to go in the 5.0 folder, and then do we? Yeah, then we go in the Python folder, and we go in the bin folder, and you'll see here that we got Python 3.11 installed in this folder inside UPBGE. So in order to get if there's any class you want, like if you want to use an alternate physics engine, like if you're making a 2D game and you want to use PyMonk with UPBGE or something like that, or if you want to, sometimes doing this breaks it, and you'll have to just reinstall UPBGE. But you can go ahead and install additional packages by going Python / This is on Linux. On Windows, it would be Python .311.exe, and then -m pip install, then TOML. But since we're on Linux, because we don't like Microsoft spying on us, we do /python 311-m pip install TOML. It says that it's already installed for me, but that's the command you run to get TOML installed into Python in UPBGE. So we'll exit that, or we'll go ahead and get out of that folder. Get out of that folder. Okay, and we'll clear, and we'll get back into our text editor. So yeah, it takes like a second, you know. So it was right. So we'll do it again real quick. So you go to CD. Inside your UPBGE folder, you go to CD 5.0, Python, bin. Then once you're in here, you run /Python 311-m pip install TOML. Okay. And then if you're on Windows, it'll be Python 3.11.exe and that same command, pip install TOML. That'll install the TOML class into your Blender Python. And then when you launch Python, you know, it shouldn't crash because this is a lightweight class that only messes with text parsing. So it doesn't mess with Blender's internals. If you do something like a math or a, you know, some kind of algorithmic class, it might conflict with one already in Blender, and then you'll get crashing and you'll have to delete your 5.0 folder and copy it in there from somewhere else, or uninstall and reinstall Blender. So, but that's how you do it. So, /Python.311-m pip install TOML. And we'll get back to okay, good. And we'll clear. I'll run my text editor. I'm using Helix because it's like Vim. Helix also works on Windows. You just launch it inside a command. It's a terminal, a command line text editor. I like it because it uses TOML files instead of Lua files like Vim, because I don't have time to learn Lua. I'm too busy during the day. Alright, next, we'll open my tester folder. So, inside Helix, you just do open. Oh, you have to press escape, get to normal mode. Okay, colon, open, dot. That brings up this. And tester. Okay, we got our file open. And we'll go ahead and get us back to. So once the TOML file is open, you can launch Blender again. So I'll relaunch it down here. There we go. Alright. I care about you guys so much that I actually wrote notes this time. I'm not just winging it. So here we go. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we have our cube. We're going to put some game properties on it. So now for TOML files, you need kind of specific format. You need to declare a sub-dictionary inside the attribute dictionary of the object. We could also do this with global dict, but I'm going to talk to you guys about attrDict today. So basically attrDict is like a C implementation of the object's property dictionary. And it's faster than just assigning properties to the object because it's running like on a C or C++ backend from what the documentation said. So we're going to use that. Also, I'll bring this up real quick, but if we go to blender.org, Blender Okay. Let's see here. Oh, we were there. Okay. So you'll notice here it says avoid property handling here. So what's saying here is, let's say you got object, it's saying it's no longer directly supported. So a lot of times you would do like, you create your object, right, with BGE, do object dot my add-on, my prop equals some variable, right? So you got, this is how you normally do props, and they're saying it's no longer directly supported. I don't know, the UPBGE team might keep it going to allow backward compatibility with previous BGE games, um, but it's talking about getters and setters, so it might not matter. But yeah, this yeah, this is saying it's to be avoided because it might break things in future versions of Blender. I don't know if that's going to happen in UPBGE, but that I think that's a good reason to use attrDict instead, because BGE uh, adds attrDict to every KX game object that you create. So um, I'll just show you an example real quick. So um, right, so like people would go obj is equal to bge dot logic dot get obj is equal to uh, uh, like get current scene dot objects, and then object name, right? And then what you would do to assign a property to it in code is you would go obj my property equals 1, right? Something like that. I guess future versions of Blender, this might break things. And so what you can do instead is you could do obj dot attrDict my property. And this is better theoretically because it says in the BGE docs that that the attrDict is faster than actual properties. And you could do, yeah. And it's basically the same thing. So like if I do print um obj, I'm actually not going to do this because this is not attached to a component and I only use components. I'm not going to put this in the logic brick user. I'm not going to use logic bricks, Logic bricks are the devil. Alright, just kidding. I know a lot of you guys love your logic bricks. I haven't had a need for them yet, but it's because I'm stubborn. Anyway, next, what's going on? Next, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create our components to attach this object to add properties to its dictionary. So class game props inherits BGE types. with the greatest class in all of BGE, KX Python component. Well, actually, KX game object is probably the greatest, but you know. And then we'll do our args, because args are required. Like if I type A, say args auto-populate. So args is equal to attrDict, because we're not going to use arguments right now. And then we'll do start. And we're going to go ahead and just start adding properties to the object. So first we'll do self dot object dot attrDict player properties is equal to an empty dictionary. So we're going to have a key value pair that keys up with a subdictionary inside of attrDict, inside the attribute dictionary. I know this is not exciting, but learning how to manage data is going to make you better at making your games. So I'm doing this for you, because I care. And actually what we'll do is we're going to be smart and use our Vim keys to yank and then paste a bunch of times. Alright. And next we'll have a subproperty, we'll have in our subdictionary, we'll have player name. And what we'll do is we'll get this from the object's name. So we're going to change the name of our cube to, it's a cool name. Let's do Constantine. It's an epic emperor name, Constantine. Just commands respect. Alright. Player name is equal to, I'll do self.object.name. So when we attach this to the cube, it'll put the string Constantine here. Next, we'll give him some HP so he doesn't die when he enters the world. So HP, I'll set that equal to 100. Let's go ahead and get his position in the world. So if we want to do something like braid and like create a list of every position he's been since the game started, we could have like a rewind feature if we wanted, or you know, or if we just need to track his current position so we can save it and load it when we load the game. So we'll do player positions equals self. My keyboard's being screwy. Okay. Okay, we'll fix it this way. There we go. And I'll fix my typo. So player position is equal to self dot object dot world position dot xyz. Then we'll go ahead and create a inventory subdictionary. So this player has an inventory. That'll be equal to the dictionary. And then we'll add an item to that inventory. We'll add a heal potion. So we'll copy, get rid of that line. Copy that line. Paste that line. And what we'll do is we'll do heal potion is equal to 0.34. So the reason I'll do that is, let's say we're making a game where, you know, the HP constantly go up, we can use a heal potion that heals a percentage of their HP. So when heal potion happens, you know, he types it by 0.34, the health bar goes up by a third of the total size, right? So That's kind of neat. Alright, and then to show you that attrDict is basically the same thing as player properties, we're going to do two print statements. So we'll do print self.object.attrDict, and then we'll go ahead and do some string formatting here. So we'll do F and inside here we'll do new line. And we'll put curly braces around this. There you go. Okay. And for this one, we'll just print self.object.getProperty names. Okay. So this will prove that attrDict basically is the same as properties. So just know in future versions, if assigning properties the old way, right, like this, if this breaks things, you may have to do this. Okay. All right, next, then we'll do def update and pass. All right. So we got our data set up, and we're going to add it as a component. I'll have to save this file. So escape to get in normal mode, then write file and enter. Okay. Then we need to load it. So we'll open it here. Okay. We'll save this as tester real quick. All right, and then we're going to go add component. So we got our cube selected. We're going to go add. This will be called tester, because that's the name of our Python file. And then tester dot, and then our class game props. Okay, that component's attached. We didn't add any arguments, so nothing's going to show up in the GUI as far as this stuff goes. This stuff just exists in the object. I'm just creating data attached to the object that we can use. If you want to see better ways of adding properties that show up in the GUI, check out my structs tutorial that shows you how to make structs for pre-processing. That'll show up in the GUI, and then those become properties of the object. But that's my structs tutorial. Look it up. Look it up on YouTube. All right. Next. All right, we got that. And so that's attached. So if this works, it's going to print the attribute dictionary and then also print the game properties. So we'll do that right now. Let's get into, I don't care about render mode, it'll just show up. Okay, so I press play. Down here you'll see it printed player properties, then the subdictionary, player name, each of those values, and then inventory and heal potion. So those are all attached to the object right now. Where's my mouse at? There we go. All right, next, I should probably go to camera view. There we go. We'll just play it again. Yep. And then here it just, you'll notice with get property names, it only shows the first key listed in the open dictionary. It doesn't show all the sub keys. So. So we got that working. So we have data attached to our object. We have the name, Constantine, HP is 10, player position is vector 000. So one thing I'm going to do to make this easier for TOML to read is we will convert this to a list real quick. And it'll make it easier when we load the dictionary for it to be assigned, because Python does a good job of assigning lists to vectors. So I'm going to change that to list, and we'll save it real quick. So list of position XYZ, we'll reload it and play. You'll see now here it's a list, so it's just easier to read. Alright. Now if it's causing performance issues, you can always leave it as vector, but you know, I don't think it does because it's just text. Alright. Next, class, and then now we're gonna create. We're gonna use our TOML class to save the dictionary to a TOML file, and we'll have TOML formatting, so it'll be something that's we can use for other stuff, right? So we'll call this TOML test save, and it also imports from. Just kind of whipping through this, so I hate my keyboard right now. Okay. This one we'll do pass on start, and then we're going to create a function called save TOML. I'll go ahead and create our update function first. Update function will be pass for now. Then we'll do save. It's called save TOML. Creating a function called save TOML. Self, and it's going to input. We're going to have. It's going to accept an argument called input data that needs to be type dictionary. So this is using type inferencing. So if you don't use I put data, it needs to be dict. Okay. So if you end up putting just like a string can be a string can't be a dictionary, but you know, other things in Python can be dictionaries, like some enums and stuff like that. So things that are capable of being interpreted as dict will be, or it'll inference the type dict, and then if it doesn't, it'll throw an error. And then we're going to declare, this is a shortcut for declaring what the return type is going to be. So we'll use the arrow and set to none. So this is the same as using declaring type void in like a C# function, right? So we're using the arrow operator to basically declare what the return type is going to be. I don't really want to go over error handling in a tutorial, but this is an easy way to do it. So like if I wanted to return an integer from a function, right, I could do int, right? And then if right, and then if something, you know, that way if you don't return it, like if you did return a string called monkey, right? This function will give you an error because it's expecting the output to be int. So this is a way to do your type handling, right? So it's a good practice to do. But since this is a void, we're going to do type none. All right. Next, create a variable. It could be any name you want. And so idata is equal to input data. So that'll assign the dictionary to this local variable. And then we'll do with open, and we'll call this tester.toml. And the unfortunate thing about the TOML class is it doesn't do binary writing. It only writes to you know, writes in a string format. So so if you do binary, like if you're trying to write binary, like you wanted to obscure the code from the player, it's going to give you an error. So you gotta use just write. So TOML would probably be more preferable for config files. If you wanted to use binary data to hide your code from the player with a write binary WB, you'd probably have to use pickle. That's good with dictionaries or JSON, but the issue with JSON is that the key value, because it's designed for web, the key values of the key value pairs in your dictionaries, they're all going to be strings, even if you type them in as integers, and that can lead to a lot of bugs and formatting problems. So for TOML, make it W. Of course, you could always convert it to binary and then use TOML lib to just read it, because I believe TOML lib can read in binary, but TOML can't write in binary. So, sorry I'm being long-winded tonight. I'll stop it. Alright. With open tester.tomlw as file. Then we'll use toml.dump. And we're going to take our idata variable and dump it to the file. And then we're going to sleep for a fifth of a second, because we want to make sure that this completes before we let the system continue on. So, alright. And next, that's good. And then we're going to create our keyboard function here. So, assign keyboard variable. Then we'll use the F1 key. F1 is equal to and we'll do released is equal to BGE dot logic.kx input just released. So we're not holding down the key, it's not doing it multiple times. And if released in keyboard kb dot inputs f1 dot q data is equal to self dot object dot attrDict. It's probably not necessary, but we'll do it that way. Alright, so what we did here is we created a function called saveTOML. It takes in dictionaries and input. It returns void, so none. Input data gets set to a variable called idata. And then we create a TOML text file with the .toml extension. We write to it as the variable file. Then we use the TOML class, TOML, with the dump function, and we input that idata into the file, and we sleep for 1/5 of a second, and then while the game's running, if we press the F1 key, it's going to run that function. And it assigns the data to the attrDict. So all these stuff that gets assigned to the attribute dictionary will be exported to the TOML file when we press the F1 key. So let's go ahead and test it. So we saved it, we reload our file. Alright, and then if I press play, and I'm going to press F1, there is no error. I'll press escape. Alright, and then if I go to my file viewer, we have do we have a tester TOML? I have a tester Pi, but not a tester TOML. Oh, I know why, because we didn't even import it. Okay, I'm dumb. We'll do it again. So we got to add the component to the object. So let's select our object, go to add. Then we're going to do tester dot test TOML test save. And click OK. Okay, it's attached. Now we press play. We'll see if we get an error. No error so far. Press F1. Okay, we got our first error. So let's take a look. Sleep is not defined. Okay, so I got to import from time import sleep. Okay. And we don't execute it. We just there we go. And then we save it. We reload. Play it. And now I press F1. There's no error. I stop the game. And we go ahead and bring up our file viewer. And we now have this tester.toml file. Now if I double click this, you'll see we have this TOML file here, and it's a properly formatted TOML. It says player properties, player name, right? So now we have a template, right? And you'll notice with subdictionaries in TOML, you just do player like we know it's under this because you do the subdictionary, you do player properties dot, and then your subdictionary name inventory. So inventory is a dictionary inside of player properties. So theoretically, we could create another TOML that was like player properties dot equipment, and we could do x equals 200, right? So, and we could do, right. Or if we wanted to really be fancy, we could do equipment dot, equipment, and do player, take the same thing and copy it. Player properties equipment dot armor, right? And then we could do armor name equals Black Knight. Because we have to make right, and we could do def bonus is equal to, we could do 0.20, maybe that's 20, adds 20% to the current player's defense or something. And then now we can do element damage, So this allows us to add, TOML can allow us to add additional properties and doing it in a way that's very easy to write. So we can make a whole bunch of items just right here in TOML, once we have the formatting we want. But let's go ahead and reload it. So we'll keep it simple so we're not outside of scope. And we'll go ahead and add an additional inventory item. So we'll say magic potion is equal to, let's do great. Great magic potion is equal to 0.66. So when you use a greater magic potion, actually 6.7. Okay, 6.7. All right, 0.67, and then we'll so basically when someone uses the greater magic potion, it'll increase by 2/3 the amount of magic they have theoretically, So we added that. We'll go ahead and save this. Used to Vim, or used to Helix, so we'll save. So we save that, and then we're going to create a load function now, which I actually haven't done before, so this will be new. So TOML test load. Here it's BGE dot. Oh, let's close that file browser. Okay. BGE dot types dot kx Python component. And do args equals and we will do the update function, and it'll be passed for now. Okay. And we'll do def load TOML self it doesn't need any input data, so it'll just return none. It doesn't need any input data, but its return type is going to be void, so none. And then we'll do data is equal to open tester.toml read and we'll sleep for fifth of a second, and we'll so it reads the whole file. And then we'll do self.object.attrDict is equal to data. Okay. Alright, so what this is going to do is it's going to read that TOML file, assign it to a variable called data. It'll sleep for a fifth of a second, and then it will reassign the attrDict to the data. So the data should match our TOML file. Oh, you know what? I don't even think we need to do that. We don't need to open. Oh, attrDict is equal to, is it TOML dot load? Let me look up the load function real quick. Yeah, they're saying use tomlib, but with toml we could do, oh yeah, we have to do with open. Okay. Yep, we need to do it that way, otherwise this creates a memory leak. We don't want that, so we'll do with open tester.toml. Data is equal to toml.load file. And we sleep. Because sleep is good for you. And then so we create a function called loadTOML, returns nothing, and basically it opens the TOML file, it reads it into a variable called file. Then we create a data variable that uses the TOML class load function and loads the file. And then we do sleep, and we do self.object.attrDict. We may need to do a dictionary conversion, but I don't think so. We may have to convert this to a dictionary, but I think it's just going to work because it's key value pairs. So we'll see. Because the TOML class should be doing it. So we'll save that. We'll reload it. I'm working more on downward inflection, so I speak with more authority. Alright, next. Tester tom load. Okay. Then we need to add our keyboard commands, so we're going to copy this, yank it, paste it, and we're going to change this to F3. Actually, we're going to go ahead and return this as a dictionary. So return type will be dict. And then we're going to change this to return data. I'll convert it to a dictionary. Okay. And then we'll see how much errors we get. And then we'll do T data is equal to self.load TOML, and then we'll do self.attrDict. Let's move the sleep outside of this. So we'll do. We'll set there we go. All right. So this when we release the F3 key, it'll run the tload function. It'll get the file, return a dictionary, convert a dictionary of that TOML file to this variable T data. Then we set the attribute dictionary of the object to it, and then and after that's done, we'll go ahead and print the attribute dictionary, so that way we can self.object.attribute. Okay. All right. Then we'll go ahead and reload. Okay, components are attached, so we'll do our test. So first we're not going to save it because we altered our tester file already, so we'll just do P. And then if I press F3, we get an error. What is it? Okay, we'll try putting inside a dictionary. Hold on. Saying the attrDict is not writable, but we're able to put stuff in it, so that doesn't make sense. So what we'll do is we'll clear the attrDictionary. Let's just return the data without converting. And then we'll do self.object. May have to do this with a for loop. Maybe not. We may just have to do this as a void and put it in the. Let's do it that way. So in our load function, we'll do self.object dot and then we'll make it a void. None. There we go. We'll just leave it. We'll let it do type conversion. We'll let it figure it out. And then once F3 is released, we'll do self dot load TOML. There we go. And we'll sleep for 2 seconds. Or sleep for a fifth of a second. There we go. Now press F3. Oh, did I get an error on load? No error on load. Okay, no error. But it didn't print either. Oh, I got an error. Okay. I had a typo. Let's get to the bottom. Alright. Okay, no errors. Then F3. Okay. Yeah, I figured that wasn't going to work. So line 60 is the cause to 52. Yep, you're the cause. We can't just do that. Okay. We have to assign a variable first and then convert it. So we'll do data is equal to TOML load file. We'll clear attrDict, so self.object. We'll clear the attrDict, then we'll do self.object. Python let us do that? Yeah, we're probably going to have to for loop it. So we'll do for we'll go ahead and convert data to a dictionary. So we'll say C data is equal to dict data. Then we'll do clear the dictionary. Then we'll clear attrDict, and then we'll do for key value pair in C data dot items self dot object dot attrDict key is equal to value. Okay. It's always more iterative with loading. It's easy to write a file. It's parsing it is what we call a bitch. Alright, so this should run a for loop that loops through each item in the TOML file, or in the dictionary from the TOML file. I don't think we even need this, because TOML should turn it into a dictionary. So then after it's done, we'll sleep for we just need to sleep long enough that it'll complete the for loop. Alright, just in case. And then, which means we don't need that sleep anymore. Okay. Alright, that should try that. We'll try that. So this will clear the attribute dictionary, then it will that might create issues with game logic at some point, but that's why you probably want to use global dict, but actually we don't even need to clear it. It'll just change the values if they already exist, and if they don't exist, it'll add them. There you go. Okay. That's a better way to do it. So, try that. And we'll see how it goes. Alright, no errors so far. We'll press F3. Hey, print our dictionary. And look, it added Great Magic Potion. 0.67. So let's add some more stuff to our TOML file and keep loading and see what we can do. So let's bring up Kate. And bring up our last file. So what other data do we want to have pre-processed for our player? Let's give him MP in addition to, so let's give him 20 MP. Let's get Um, what do we want in his inventory? Let's give him something lame like Gustav's journal. Gustav's journal is equal to is lame. I'm just messing with you guys. I love that game. Let's do Great Magic Potion. Let's do Lightning Extract. Or Lightning Bag, you know, like Final Fantasy VIII Lightning Bag. And we'll say how much damage it does. Let's say it just does a straight 500. And then Fire Bag equals 500. Earth Bag equals 250. Okay. Then we'll save this TOML file. Now if we rerun our game, oh, I don't need that. I just need to click in here, press play. Okay, no errors so far. I press F3. If you look down here, our dictionary now has the heal potion, great magic potion, lightning bag 500, fire bag. So you see, this is a way we can basically create player properties from a TOML file without having to write a whole bunch of code, right? So, and then we could also do this for enemies. We could write a whole enemy, right? So, um, so what will we do? We'll add another sub inventory for equipment in our TOML file. So we'll go back to our other text editor, Kate here, right? And then we could copy this, right? And go V, and call this equipment. And then player properties.equipment, and then we can do equipped armor is equal to I don't know, fire armor. And then we could do equipped weapon is equal to fire sword, because I'm super creative, right? And then we could do another one called equipment list, because again, I'm super creative. Excuse me. Equipment list is equal to ice sword ice armor, right? And then we'll do save. And if we press F3, we now have a subdictionary, right, called equipment. Inside is equipped armor, equipped weapon, and an equipment list that has the unequipped. So now you can manage data really easily with TOML files, right? And if you don't care if your game gets modded by other people, you know, this might be a way to you can do your save files, right? This is attrDict, so you could just substitute that for a global dict, and then you have a dictionary you can use to save all your game data, right? It saves the player position. So if I go ahead and move my object, run the game, press F1, and then press F3, you'll see it got rid of all the other stuff because it's not in my initial, right? It overwrote the file, but you'll see that the player position's updated now too, right? So, and TOML files are light, so you can do this while in game. So you can keep a file that you can use as a right, as like a rewind cue for the player's position if you want to make something like braid or Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, right? So see, position changed again. So there you go. All right, so that's how you save and load TOML files with Python. So what we did was we installed TOML into UPBGE's Python install. Then we created some properties in the attribute dictionary of the object. We assigned them some variables, and then we saved the attribute dictionary to a tester.toml file. We created the keyboard logic for it, right? And then we created a function to load the data and assign it back to the attribute dictionary of the object. And then yeah. And you know, if you wanted to change this to instead of tester.toml, right, we can actually just do self.object.name, right? And then we'll do string formatting. So F self.object.name.toml. We'll save that. Do F1. Do F3. Okay. And now if we look at our file directory, we now have a constantine.toml file. So there's an easy way to basically create a data file for every entity in your game, right? So now you could save all the data on all your players and all your enemies, right? And then so this would be helpful maybe if you had a server holding all the TOML files that get updated for an MMO, or maybe or you know, just if you want to save the state of every object in your game, right? This is a way to do it by object, and then you just make sure you attach this component, the TOML save component, to every and load component if you need to load. You basically save that to every object in your game, and then each object loads its own TOML file, and it's in the same place it was when you know, last time you saved the game. So that's another way to save and load stuff. So, and to be creative, right? You can be creative with a TOML file because they're very easy to read. So, right? So, it's pretty neat. All right. Well, that's how you do that. And that was the tutorial on TOML files in UPBGE. Have a great day. Bye.